everyone, welcome to another Tasty Tuesday. And today I'm going to show you how to make Danish Abelskivers, which are like a small little round donut. I've only made these once before. Well, maybe I've made them a couple of times, but it's been a really long time. And to make Abelskivers, you need a special Abelskiver pan. It has these little indentations in it, and this is how you make the little round donuts. This is cast iron, which is what you should try to find, but there are other kinds out there too. They're pretty easy to find, and of course you can get them on Amazon. So we're going to be using this in a second. So my husband's family is Danish, and we have cousins who live in Denmark, and we visited them a couple of times. My family is also Scandinavian, and although when I was growing up we ate a lot more lefse than Abelskivers, we did have Abelskivers from time to time. And here in the Pacific Northwest there's a lot of Scandinavian heritage, and especially around the holidays you'll find Abelskivers available in bakeries, or you can make your own, which is what we're going to do today. So here in this bowl I have combined 250 grams of all-purpose flour, 50 grams of sugar, 4 teaspoons of baking powder, and a half teaspoon of cinnamon. You can also use cardamom. You'll see that in a lot of recipes, but I'm not a big fan of cardamom, so I use cinnamon today. Now we are going to add 375 millimeters of whole milk, which is about 1.6 cups. And to this also, well, let's get this stirred up first. We are going to add 125 milligrams of melted butter. A stick of butter is about 113 grams. So you're looking at about 1 stick plus a quarter or a little more. This is a kind of recipe where you want to try to weigh your ingredients, with a food scale so that you're getting the grams correct. So now we are going to add 125 grams of melted butter. And that smells really nice. This dough will be on the runny side. It won't be stiff. We are going to add a half a teaspoon of salt and the zest of 1 whole lemon. Oops. All right. Now, we want this to rest for about 5 minutes. And while we're doing that, whoops, I think I forgot. I forgot the egg yolks. We have to have the egg yolks. Here's 4 egg yolks. I've separated the eggs and we're going to use the whites. Goodness, I'm glad I remembered. Very important ingredient. So in go 4 egg yolks, which add a nice color. And now while this rests for 5 minutes, we're going to take the whites and whip them with my hand mixer until they stiffen up. That didn't take long at all. My 4 egg whites have a nice peak here, so that's all we need. Whoops. Okay, So we've let our batter rest for 5 minutes. We have our nicely whipped egg whites. And now I'm going to very carefully, you don't want to break down the egg whites. So, clean my spoon off a little bit. We're going to fold these in a little bit at a time, nice and easy. This is what will give your Abelskivers a nice lift. Now the hard part of Abelskivers is turning them in that pan that I showed you. That's what I'm not very good at. A lot of people use knitting needles to turn them. I'll show you. I'm not a knitter, but I do have chopsticks, which is what I'm going to use, and hopefully that'll work. So my Abelskiver pan is on the stove now, heating up to medium-high heat. This recipe makes about 30 Abelskivers, and which is more than I need. And so you can, if you have a batch that doesn't work, don't worry. Practice a little with this recipe. And in my Abelskiver pan, I have just a little bit of cooking spray in each one. You can put butter in there too. Okay, that looks nice. And now we're going to put them on the stove. Okay, our Abelskiver pan is hot, but not too hot. Got to be careful. You don't want them to burn or be too brown. So what you want to do is fill up each one of these pretty much to the top. They're going to puff up like little round donuts, which is exactly what they are. So this is about, I would say, 1.5 tablespoons, maybe even closer to 2 that I'm putting in here. You'll have to just look at it and see. And what I try to do is keep track of the order I'm filling the holes, because you want to flip them in that order. And as you do a couple batches, you'll get the hang of this. So I think there are Abelskiver pans that make more than 6, but for me, because it's kind of complicated, 6 is enough for me to handle at one time. I was just wondering if you could make this dough and not use it all. I don't know the answer to that. Sometimes we'll make pancake batter and save it for the next day, but I don't know if that would work or not, especially due to the fact that it has the egg whites in there. It might break down. Okay, so a couple of these, I think maybe I've filled too much. So that's one thing about this recipe. Makes 30, gives you a couple of options to screw up. So now, just like pancakes, you're kind of watching the bubbles to get a feel for when you're ready to flip. And they're not ready yet. I'm on medium heat here. My pan was hotter than medium, but I turned it down a bit. So, and working with cast iron is so fabulous. I love using any kind of cast iron pan. So we're getting there. Can you see the little bubbles? You can really smell the lemon in these too. All right, let's see. I don't know. Oh yeah, I think maybe. So basically I'm taking my chopsticks or knitting needles or whatever you choose to use. Okay, I think maybe I filled these a little too full, but we're gonna try it anyway. I got carried away. Ooh, yeah, how pretty. So you want them nice and golden like that. Tuck it back down in there so that it continues to cook. Let's try another one. Yeah, that's going good. They look like little hats. I'm going to turn the heat down a little. Seems to be getting a little hot again. So somebody who does this a lot would just flip these things so fast and they'd be just perfect. But also remember, it doesn't have to be perfect. When we serve these, we're going to sprinkle them with some powdered sugar and serve them with lingonberry jelly. If you can't find lingonberry jelly, which is very popular in Scandinavia, you could just use any kind of jelly, raspberry, strawberry, any of your favorites. And especially if you make homemade jelly, that makes it even more special. I like lingonberry jelly just because it reminds me of my time in Sweden. Okay, they're kind of messy, but I'm happy they're not burnt. So we'll give them a minute here. They look pretty good. You want to make sure they're cooked all the way through. And when I stick my chopstick in there, I feel like we're really close. So now I'm going to remove them over here to my cooling rack. You can see I have a couple there that I did a test drive on. And these are quite a bit, I think I did better with these. They're rounder, fuller, and they look beautiful. Wow, I'm an Abelskiver maker. Who knew? All right, I'm gonna let these cool down a little bit and do a little bit more, and then I'll come back and show you how we plate them. So our Abelskivers are done. They look beautiful. So I'm pretty proud of myself, actually. This is the lingonberry jam in the middle. And in Sweden, I had lingonberry jam served with Swedish meatballs. And that savory sweet was just really delightful. So I don't even know if lingonberries grow here in the Pacific Northwest where I am, but it's definitely a favorite in Scandinavian foods. So here is our beautiful Abelskivers, and I'm gonna put a little bit of lingonberry jam on this one. I've sprinkled them with a little bit of powdered sugar. Oh my God. You know, that lemon zest, it's amazing how that comes out in the flavor. One thing about these, it really was very easy. My first batch didn't turn out that great, and then after that, you kind of got the hang of it. You need to get the heat just right. But speaking of heat, you want to serve these warm. So it's the kind of thing you're going to want to make right before serving. So maybe practice ahead of time before you're going to serve these to your family or friends, and then you'll be ready to whip up some beautiful Danish Abelskivers for whatever occasion you have. Thanks for joining me. I'll see you next Tuesday.